am here with Jessica Bull from J Bull Consulting. She's
What's
Jessica
up?
Facebook with me. So if you guys see anything, it's Neena and Jessy B. Talk copyrights, published versus unpublished. And before we get into this, the reason why we came up with this or even decided to do this is because we were noticing that there was a trend where people would go ahead and publish stuff, and then they have to actually deal with a different application than if you actually had it unpublished. So this is a talk really about how to save yourself some money and maybe consult an attorney before you go forward with putting out all of your podcasts or putting out all of your video streams and things like that. So you're not in a situation in which something is published and so now you can't group it together in the 10 in one application. So I'm going to let Jessica introduce herself, talk a little bit about J Bull Consulting. I love Jessica. Y'all show her some love. She is, I think she's licensed a lot of places. So I'm going to tell you all her license places too.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica Bull. I am the managing attorney at J Bull Consulting Firm, LLC. We're a small business and trademark firm. We help entrepreneurs and creatives form a strong legal foundation through copyrights, trademarks, contracts, and business entities. I am currently barred in the District of Columbia, not a ton of jurisdictions like Neena is saying. And I should be, God willing, COVID has slowed things down. I'm barred in Maryland. And so I love working with small businesses. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, we're almost through the process. We're almost through the process. It's a long process, but by the end of the year, I should be barred in Maryland. But that doesn't stop me from helping tons of entrepreneurs and creatives across the U.S. because my work is transactional and federal, which doesn't really mean anything to you, but that just means I can help you usually no matter what state you're in. And if I can't, I will let you know because I know lots of people and lots of friends who can. So thanks for having me today, Neena. And I'm excited to talk about this topic because I think it's really important and it can get a little tricky.
Well, let's start then. So let's go into like what does published versus unpublished really mean? So let's start with what unpublished means or what it looks like, Jessica. What is it?
So publish is, I have some notes because I like to have things that are exact definitions and then break them down into actual understand human speak. So basically publish under the copyright law is defined as the distribution of copies of work to the public by sale or other transfer of ownership or by rental, lease, or lending, offering to distribute copies to people or business for purposes of further distribution, public performance, or public display constitutes publication. That is the formal definition. So
break that down in layman's terms. Tell them what it is.
We're going to use some examples to kind of work through it. But basically the ideal, there's almost like there's two definitions, right? So on one hand, publish is going to be related to a public of sale. That's pretty simple. If you're selling something or using it in some capacity, I like to use pictures as often because a lot of times that's the trickiest. And with the rise of the internet, things have gotten a little tricky. What is and what is not considered published. So for example, if you have a picture, you take a picture and you sell that picture, then clearly that is that's published, right? For the sake of copyright. But say, for instance, you take the picture and you keep it in your home, then it's not published. It's considered an unpublished work. But say you took that picture and you place it or distribute it out to people, or you have it displayed in a gallery. Well, the Copyright Office says that could be published or maybe it's unpublished. A lot of it is depending on the circumstances on how it's going about doing it. Is the purpose of you exhibiting the prints for the purpose of selling, right? So if you're exhibiting the prints at the gallery, is it for the purpose of selling it? Then most likely, then that's going to be considered published. If you don't sell that particular picture, but then you make copies of that picture, right? Then the picture can still be considered published, even though it's copies that are being sold. So that's when it gets really nuanced on what's considered published and unpublished, because when people put things on the internet, sometimes it is published and sometimes it's not. And there are a couple of reasons why that's important. And one of the main reasons is money. Is money. So when something's unpublished, you're able to file more things within one application. So if you have 400 pictures and they're all unpublished, you can file all those pictures within one application, which is much, much cheaper. The other thing is when something's unpublished, your rights change, right? So based on copyright law, If it's unpublished, the moment that you file for the copyright, then you immediately have protection. Whereas if someone would infringe on it, then you have a statutory claim. So a statutory claim means that no matter what, even if there's no profit loss, even if you didn't lose any money from your picture, if it was an unpublished registered copyright, you are entitled to a certain amount of money for every single infringement. That doesn't automatically extend to published, right? Because with published, the infringement is only protected from the time that the time the copyright is registered, unless it's only been 3 months from the time of the registration of the publication. So really, when it gets down to it, when you don't register your copyright in time or you don't register before it's considered published, you are oftentimes losing out on a lot of money. And if somebody would infringe on your publication before you go and copyright it, you may find yourself with an uphill battle. Because when you are dealing with statutory, all you have to prove is that somebody copied it. You don't have to prove that you were injured or anything. All you have to do is prove they copied it. If the time has passed since the time you filed your copyright, you do not have to prove damages on top of that. And proving damages from copy could be really, really hard because maybe you didn't sell any books and maybe you didn't sell any photographs. So then somebody got away with copying your work and you're not getting compensated for it. And the Copyright Office has ruled that you can't bring a suit until they have made a decision about your copyright. Whereas before you could publish it, you could file it and then run to the court. Now you have to wait, and that can take up to 8 to 10 months to hear back from the Copyright Office, depending on how quickly they're getting through applications. So that's just like a really brief overview of why published and versus unpublished is so important. And we can go over like different examples of what you can do in regards to social media and maybe some tips that you can use to determine if something is published versus unpublished. What do you think, Neena?
I think we'll go into that. I think there's one thing that we do have to clarify for our readers out there, listeners out there, is what it's not. So published does not mean that I posted on YouTube. Published means that I licensed YouTube to use it for different things. So if you do a CC or content creative, that's where you can start getting paid. So now you are licensing YouTube to use paid advertising. So that once you change it to CC and it's not in a standard license, that's completely different. Once you start using those videos in context with anybody else can buy rights to your videos or be able to use your content and you sold it to somebody, that's what it is. So what I want you guys to remember is the catchphrase is published means licensed to somebody or in use in commerce. So that means that somebody can buy it or somebody has been licensed the rights to use it. And a lot of you guys encountered this with something called videos, songs, and what is it, podcasts, and there's one more, photos. Those are the big four that we see all the time. So these are things that are important. And then the one that comes to me all the time, and it probably comes to Jessica too, are t-shirt designs or any designs of any swag that you're creating. Now, before it's sold, if it's just on your site or whatever, you're fine, okay? But when it's sold, okay, you've actually sold it to somebody, someone's actually clicked it, and it's not just on display on your website, then we have an issue. It goes from published to unpublished that quickly. So if somebody goes through and there's order numbers and things like that, now, of course, the Copyright Office can't go back and look at that necessarily, but why put that in? Why even put that out there? Why do that to save money? Because at the end of the day, it's not going to help you. It's going to be something where you're materially lying on your copyright application. Right. And if you lie on your copyright application and it comes out, then you're going to be in trouble because somebody had proof that you were selling it before you actually copyrighted it. So just keep that in mind. When you are selling anything or you license anything for use, that includes videos of you. You can license videos of you when you speak at a conference. You have to actually request that your licensing be retained by you in order to speak. Otherwise, you have licensed your video to be used by that conference because you did not clarify what exactly the terms were for your speaking engagement. So you have to have all of those things clear in writing. So let's get into these tips, but I wanted to make sure that we understand what it's not. It's not just publishing on Instagram. It's not just putting it on your website. It's actually publishing it through like a software company. So like Anchor.fm puts together podcasts. If it's licensed to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can listen to your podcast now, that means that you have licensed it to somebody to use on all of those other platforms. So that podcast is live. So you cannot now take the podcast episodes and put all 10 of them in one application. So talk about the tips that will make you guys a little bit happy. I know you probably did the wrong thing at first, but that's why we're here. So we can talk about the right thing. All right. Talk about some tips.
No, that's right. Yeah, I agree with it with the licensing, distribution, right? That's really what the key is. Distribution. Is it going to be distributed? So one of the things, so one question, right? So I was just thinking about like frequently asked questions. What are frequently asked questions that people have? So if I put a photo on my website, is it considered published? So if you put something in like a public area, then like a public area of the website, right? It's not like behind membership or anything like that, but most likely it's published. So what does that usually look like? So like say you're a photographer, and you're going to see this a lot, right? You're a photographer, you have a website, you put and you're exhibiting your work on your website. But then you also have a portal for your clients where they can see pictures and they can look at the pictures and pick it because you're editing it. Now that's considered the private area of the website, and that area of the website most likely is not going to be considered published. So the pictures within there are probably going to be considered unpublished. Now, why? Because you have to think about what is the purpose of exhibiting these pictures. The purpose is not for distribution or, like Neena said, licensing or submissions. It's for interacting with the client. Now, if you took those same pictures and move it to maybe your homepage or what we do page of the website, now you're moving into whether or not it is published. And so that's kind of what I say. It's really fact focused when it comes to whether or not something is published versus unpublished. So I hope that makes a little distinction. And I have seen this with photographers before, which is a huge concern for them, right? Because they're going to have to show the pictures. And the fear is, oh, if I take a picture, I have to run to the copyright office. Oh my gosh, like I can't get it unpublished. But the truth is, it's really about how you're utilizing it. So the best practice photographers is when you are done publishing, and you should have some type of agreement with your client saying you can use it for promotional purposes. Before you go and you do that, or maybe you sell it or you give it to a gallery or you show it somewhere, go ahead, get them filed by the copyright office, because you can go ahead and put them all in one package together and just file it and make it so much easier for yourself.
Awesome. And then just remember, if you are a photographer and you're signing away rights, because there will be people who need their rights to their photos or want their rights to their photos, you'll still have promotional use copyright ability, but they will have the ability to file this complete copyright if you assign over the right. So remember, if you are on the reverse end, if you are a person that retains their own photos. So for me, I got my photos signed over to me to have exclusive rights, and the promotional aspect where they can put it on their portfolio matters. But what Jessica's saying is important, because all you have to do is create a portal, right, on your website where people can see your photos unless they log in or something like that. Something that allows them to have to leave the home page. But the landing page, if your landing page has everything listed, because for example, there's a website that you can host and you can create something called an Etsy store. An Etsy store is hidden off of your actual website. So it's something that people would have to enter, and they would have to have access to enter it in. So if you give them access or you give them a link, but on your Etsy store, you can publish and unpublish stuff, right? You can actually keep it unpublished until you're ready, okay? Because when you click the word published on the website for your sale items, then it's published, right? But if you want to unpublish it because it hasn't been sold, it's not something that you want to display, unpublish that from your website, because right now it's being published. Right now, that's it. That's all you got. So if you didn't know, you were uncertain and you're trying to sell stuff, but you didn't want it to be considered published or unpublished, that's something that you can easily do. And what she's saying is going to another site or having to go to another site in order to see the same products is important. So keeping that in mind, that's a way to get around what you normally see in that thing. Because on my website, there's stuff that I have created, and then there's stuff that I haven't necessarily created yet, but I've been, playing with drop shipping on my website through Etsy. So important things to keep in mind. You can do that today. You can start setting up your website. And then, Jessica, do you notice that they put copyright stuff at the bottom of websites? Like, is that a good idea for them to do? Should they start doing that so that people know not to take their material?
The C, if you haven't registered it, you shouldn't be using the C. I know most websites like Squarespace,
They say
even
all rights reserved. So
right, they say all rights reserved, and some of them actually have
see.
the C. Some have the C. You should not be using the C if you have not registered.
Yes.
And that's just point blank period. Now, for everyone out there who's going to be like, well, once you create it, you have a copyright. You're exactly correct. You have a common law copyright whenever you create something. That is completely correct. But that common law copyright don't got no teeth. Okay. You're not going to be able to file anything against anyone at all. So think about this. If you make something and you were talking about an Etsy store, say you have your design on your Etsy store, and it's very common in Etsy stores for other people to what? Steal your design. If they see it's really popular, they see a lot of people are buying it, it's super common. It's super common for it to get stolen or for there to be a slight difference, right? Just enough. But clearly they're copying your work. Clearly there's an infringement. But here's the thing. If you have not filed a copyright with the Copyright Office for this very popular design, and you're just like, well, I have a common law copyright, so I'm fine. Then boo, what's gonna happen is there's no way for that Etsy store, for that the I don't what is the company that hosts Etsy store? Anyway, it's no way for Etsy to know who is the true owner. Because the thing about copyrights is that it establishes who is the owner. And so if you don't have no receipts, that's what I call legal paperwork. If you don't have any receipts, all they're going to do is either one, take both the sites down, and then the other person is just going to come back. Two, they're going to say, the other person is going to file and say, actually, no, you're infringing on me because this is my design. And then now it's just like, well, we don't know whose design it is, so we're not going to get worried about it. But if you have receipts, you're going to be able to stop that other person from infringement. And again, remember, time is key, right? There are YouTube videos right now on YouTube who say, don't worry about filing your copyright till someone copies your work. That is the worst advice ever.
So bad. Because once they copy it, right? If you never filed, then you're going to have to prove way more than if you actually had it. Because if you had it, all you would have to prove is that it was copied.
Not only do you have to wait, you're going to have to wait to even bring it to court because you don't even have standing. Because you don't have standing until you act. Standing means the right to go, or you've been injured, or proof that you've been injured. So you can't even pursue this case until the Copyright Office grants you that copyright. We saw this happen with Fortnite. Right? I'm a gamer. I play games. Fortnite's a huge game. Fortnite got sued by all of these creatives who say that Fortnite was stealing their stuff. And the common theme for a lot of these creatives is that they had never filed any copyrights for their art, for their creative work. And so now they were stuck in limbo and their cases were suspended until the Copyright Office came back and made a decision on it. And by then, Fortnite has made millions upon billions of dollars on their creative work. So now you're trying to hope retroactively that you'll get the copyright and hope that not only that you get the copyright, that you'll be able to convince the court. Copyright gives you leverage, right? If I come to you and I say, this is my copyright design, I have leverage now. You have no leverage, no negotiation, no cease and desist because it's your word against my word, and that's no good. It's no good. So at the very least, you can actually license what you're doing, right? This is what happened with the people with B. Simone. All of the bloggers that B. Simone stole their information from, I didn't hear anything about them having a copyright. So B. Simone sold over $1 million worth of book, and she didn't really have to give out any money. Now, of course, people are saying, oh, she went to court and blah, blah, blah. But those bloggers, those creative works, they did not file copyrights. So the likelihood that this case will go forward this year is very low. And the likelihood that they will actually get any profit is an uphill battle because you have to prove that you're the one who created it. Then once you prove it, now you have to go to court. Whereas before, once they found out that, B. Simone had taken their work, they could have slapped those copyrights on tweets. Tweets are not substitute for receipts.
Amen.
You can tweet and still get paid. Get your copyright.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just super important, right, guys? Like, think about it. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you have interest or vested interest in the property because you created it. It matters that you took the time to register it. And that's mainly what we took the time to kind of talk about today, because a lot of people, and I see this with podcasters a lot and content creators, you create, right? And then you license people to use that stuff that you created for promos and videos and things like that. If you did not, before you license them to use those things with your likeness, all your image and all the other stuff, then they have freedom, right, to do whatever. But that's not unpublished. That's published. So every single video you have to do a separate application for. And that's just too much money to invest.
Absolutely.
Where you could have done all 10 videos at once. And I know that's not necessarily cost effective, right? But once you sign licensing agreements, it's better to do videos in bulk. So some of the people like content creators, I mean, you guys get the short end of the stick. You're going to have to do each application at once. But if you are somebody who like creates videos and stuff like that, and you can afford to put it up in 10, like do 10 videos, okay? Send the copyright for them, right? Then publish them. Okay, then you'll be okay. Okay, so I know that that's crazy, but I mean, you should plan, right? You should already have 10 videos ready to launch, right? You shouldn't be doing them on the fly every single day on your live, right? You should do them, create them a private link on YouTube, and then you'll release it to the public on YouTube when you're ready. Okay, that's how you get around that, right? You create everything privately on YouTube. Okay, that's how you get around that, because no one will have license or be able to see it until you open it, because it's private. It's in your private area, the private genre of your YouTube channel. So nobody has access to it. It's blocked. If people try to click on it, it's still blocked. So you have to think about it from that perspective, and you can't keep on thinking, I got to get this content out now. Yes, but you could take 7 days, 10 days even, and do a content per day, right? You could plan the topic just like me and Jess are doing right now. And you can plan this whole thing out, do it for 10 days straight, and then release next week, still get the same content out, and do it one per day every week, but you could have already filed. And that's
Absolutely.
before you go live and you show presentation and materials and PowerPoints. Those things should be sent to the copyright office. Why are you keeping those to show on your videos with people that may or may not copy what you do? Okay, copyright it. Copyright it. Now, if you haven't sold it, if you're doing free classes, okay, you're fine. Okay, you haven't sold it for any purposes. You're just telling people about stuff. Okay, so those people who are doing free master classes, they kind of getting over on the system because they're not licensing anybody for use of those videos or those presentations. However, if you start selling that, if you sell those things as courses, your master classes become paid. If you start charging people to have access to your presentations, those things matter. You know, you're using it, right? Using it isn't the same as using it in commerce. That's just the same as like a Facebook post isn't the same as posting it for use in commerce. You have to license someone to use those things. You have to license somebody to distribute those things. So if you're going on live and you're talking about stuff and you're teaching stuff on live, or you made an Instagram post, that's not licensing, okay? That's not using it in commerce. It's when you start charging people for access to that information, that video, that audio stream, that it becomes problematic for your application. And so a lot of people who encounter this are podcasters, content creators, and photographers, because they start putting it out there for everybody. Oh yeah, you can buy your package today. Look at this portfolio, click. That's it. Like that's all you need to put it out there, that you're selling this for goods. These are goods that you sell, because a lot of photographers, after they do their clients' pictures, right, they have it where you can order the prints. And so then it's used in commerce. That's what I've seen a lot of photographers do. They can go back and order their prints directly from that posting they've made. Mm-hmm. Just remember that even though that's your business, you got to figure out a way to do your business smart, so that those images, if you do decide to copyright them, especially if you're one of those photographers that take, big murals and other things, if you're taking pictures of huge things that are going to become trending, like the Black Lives Matter movements, if you are taking pictures of those things, you need to make sure that you copyright your photos, because someone will take them and then you will have nothing. Okay, you will have nothing to stand on because you didn't take the time to copyright them. because you put them out there and you licensed the use to everybody and their mama, but you didn't make sure that you had copyright protection. So somebody beat it. So
I agree.
just keep that in mind. Last but not least, Jessica and I probably see this more often because we are intellectual property attorneys. But Jessica and I see this because consulting is important. If you consult with a lawyer on your business before you do all of this stuff, ideas, okay? But if you consult, you take like an hour, right? Or 45 minutes or 30 minutes in a consultation and consult before you actually go through and launch all this product you got, you might actually save some money, right? Because neither Jessica nor I would have told you, yeah, go ahead, launch all that product you about to put out. We don't need to copyright it, especially because the shirt's important to you, but you created it, so you owned it. It's not that simple. You created it, you own it, but you own it in common law. You also want to own it in federal law. That's what you're working towards. A lot of businesses, they know that, right? Starbucks, they know that. Anybody even puts out a white cup with a green dot on it, Starbucks tries to claim copyright infringement. Okay? They will. And trademark infringement, all of that. Okay? So keep in mind, it's really important for you to do those things. You have to create opportunities for your businesses to grow. And I know no one ever taught you that, no one taught me that really to invest in my business. Nobody gave me the tools to do it. Nobody gave me the capital to do that either. It was just kind of like self-taught. So I know that's probably a struggle you all have. But the reason why Jessica and I decided to do this, because we know we've been there. No, nobody really told us what those things were until we started looking at it from a legal perspective and realized this is stuff that really real business owners are making mistakes on all the time, and it's costing them money. Because then they find out later on about a copyright and they're like, oh my gosh, I got to go back and copyright. But they got multiple copyright applications to file. And then they don't do it correctly. Right. So, I mean, it's easy in the sense that you could do it, but it's hard in the sense that once you get to the application, you don't know what you're filling out. And then there's this thing where you affirm that you're telling the truth and everything you answered is true. And you don't know if you answered everything correctly, true, or accurately. Right? So you're just taking a chance or a whammy with maybe I did it right. And so that's my thing is before you even get there, maybe talk to someone. Maybe everything that you have isn't copyrightable. Maybe some of it is actually supposed to be trademarked. And maybe everything that you trademark is not necessarily supposed to be trademarked. It's supposed to be copyrighted. There are multiple perspectives to see this, but as a business owner, you need to be thinking about owning your copyright. You have to think about that because somebody else will. Okay, they will see how important, and you've seen this, as Jessica mentioned, on Etsy. See how popping your brand becomes, and they will take it. And you want to know how I know? Because when Supercent dropped Crayon Case, okay, and I just like to use her as a reference because there's a lot of teaching tools from her journey. Massimo created a adjacent line that borrowed from Crayon Case's elements about, different, Crayola devices and things like that. And I was surprised that she didn't get in trouble with Crayola when she filed her trademark. But hey, they probably didn't think nothing of it. But the thing of the matter is, Massimo really, they took the brushes, and literally the brushes were very similar to her brushes. And that's the thing. You guys have stuff that people want to copy. And when you make $90 million or $1 million, however much millions she's got now, if you make $1 million in 90 minutes like she did, they're going to want to copy you because they're going to think that if they create a knockoff brand of what you're, they're going to make more money. So that's the reason why we even do copyrights, right? Because we don't want anybody copying us, and we don't want anybody to take a slight variation of what we did. But in copyrights, that's what they can do, right? They can take a variation of what you do. And so that's why Jessica and I, we talk about copyrights, but the ultimate goal, in my opinion, is to start thinking about stuff that you want to trademark. That's where it's leading to. So you start at the copyrights, you get to publish, unpublished, you talk about the difference, but then there are some things that you want to be like very well protected. Those are the things that matter to you the most. The entire thing that you do on copyright are things that you want to protect just for content. But when you get to that, the nut and bolts of what makes you, what makes your brand, that's when you get into trademarking. But if you don't understand which things should be published, unpublished, all that, you're going to be so confused by the time Jessica and I walk you through all the different steps that you have to walk through, because published versus unpublished trips everyone up. They get so freaked out. They're like, but you can put 10 in one application. You can if you understand that yours is unpublished works. If they're not unpublished works, then you're going to have an issue. The last thing I think that we didn't talk about, Jessica, is that same type. I think that's really important for you guys to remember, that this is a 10 in one application or 750 photos in one application of the same type. So Jessica, can you talk a little bit about that so they will understand what that difference is in applications?
So we're going back to the money, right? So the way applications work is that it has to be the same kind of medium. I like saying medium because I think that makes the most sense. So if it's t-shirt, then it has to be all t-shirt designs. It has to be the same authors, right? So it has to be the same person who created all of them. If there's one additional author, right? Say you made 1 through 8, and then Mary helps you make the ninth one. The ninth one's a separate application. That's how it works. So I have to have the same author or owner, I should say, because you can have a copyright assignment agreement and they become owners, has to have the same author or owner with the same medium. And that's really important because the more mediums you have, the more applications you have to file. When people, for example, when people file like a song on CDs, you'll notice that they might file 3 copyrights for the same song. They have to file one for the beat. They have to file one for the lyricist. They have to file one for the people who mix the song, because that's considered a separate work. That's off the bat. That's just 3, right? Then if they make a remix, and then if there's different writers on each song, that means they're making a copyright for each of those songs, each of those beats, each of those mixes. And then you file a copyright for the design, and then you're filing a copyright for the entire CD. Every single one is a work of art. And trust me, they have a team of attorneys whose job is to file these copyrights, because that is how nuanced and specific it needs to be. So when I'm working with a client, what I have to do is, it's really tough, right? Like, don't get on your attorney. We have to know what you're trying to copyright. We have to know where you have displayed it or shown it. Once we know how many you've done, what you've done, if you've sold, then we're able to say, okay, you need 7 copyright applications. Oh, you need 2, you need 4. And, if in doubt, if you're like, well, I don't have money for all of these, if in doubt, always go with your most popular one, right? Like the one that is, maybe if you're selling, is your top seller. That's the one you copyright first, and then you work your way through it. And I did want to just state, don't wait till someone sees that your work is valuable to realize that your work is valuable. Retroactive is not the way. You want to be proactive with your creative content. And it's really not that difficult. Once you have like the first time, you might feel overwhelmed because you're trying to be retroactive, right? Like you're trying to play catch up. But once you're doing it consistently, my bloggers, right? Quarterly, you're filing your once you're doing it consistently, my photographers, it just becomes part of doing business. It's just part of doing business, and you want to make sure your business is intact, and this is part of doing that. So I hope that, I know this seems like it's all over the place, but it's the law, they kind of make it that way. But at the very least, if you don't know, talk to an attorney. Take a moment, because you could be sitting on millions of dollars of creative work and someone is just waiting to snatch them. And one call could save you a lot of heartache. I bet B. Simone wish she had talked to somebody right before she published that book and before she did anything. I'm sure Nick Cannon wish he had talked to somebody. I'm sure what's the young lady who was claiming that Lizzo stole her lyrics? I'm sure she wished somebody had talked to her. Okay. Don't wait to talk to somebody who can help you. And I'm off my pedestal.
You're good. I like pedestal. So this is the offer section. So we're just going to tell you about a couple things that we have going on. So I'm going to let you go ahead and tell you a little bit about what she's got going on that's coming up, and then I will tell you what I got going on. And then we're just going to wrap it up with one final or a couple words of encouragement for you copywriters out there that are going to copyright something real soon. You are, because you heard this and you're empowered now to go start copywriting. I know you are, because it's in you. You stuck with us. Whoever, I think I know who this is. I think it's Trevizia. She's always with me. So whoever sticks with us the entire time, I am awesome, because I told y'all I don't speak to thousands of people. I will speak to just one. It don't have to be 1,000 for me to be completely energy bringing all the time. And all the people that I talk to, that's how they are. Like, even if I touch one person, that one person will touch millions. So at the end of the day, if I pour all of my heart and energy into each person, one person at a time, that person can change and impact the world for the better. So I'm going to let Jessica talk about trademarks and your business and come off screen for a second, and then I'll be back to talk about.
Oh, she done left me, y'all. So I actually have a workshop coming up tomorrow. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And basically, we're going to go through and talk about trademarks in your business. We're going to discuss how you can monetize trademarks, what you can do to make sure you are working your brand at the most profitable point. I am a big advocate of not leaving money on the table. And I think, no, I'm sorry. I know that trademarks are often small businesses' greatest asset. And I am passionate about making sure that small businesses not only know and understand their greatest asset, but know how to go about with the process. So that's what we're doing. It's about 45 minutes. It is free. Free. Did I say free? Yeah, it's free. So if you want to check it out, we'll be in the room, jbullworkshop.com, talking about trademarks, probably play a little bit of games, have a little laugh. And then at the end, I always take questions to kind of clarify whatever's going on. So you have unfettered access to me to ask me anything you have in regards to your business and trademarks, and protecting and building and growing your brand and business. So that is what I have going on tomorrow. And if you're interested in learning more or seeing what others said about it, you can always follow me at Instagram and Facebook at JBull Consulting on all social media platforms. You know, check out your girl on Twitter. I'm tweeting. And you can kind of see what we've done in the past to kind of get a feel for it. If you're like, who is this girl? And I don't know what she's talking about. Okay.
Awesome. And then the last thing that I wanted to tell you guys about, y'all know, but it's something that I've been doing for a while. So Best Kept Secrets and Trademarks is finally here, the masterclass. So if you signed up for the Best Kept Secrets and Trademarks, we will learn some stuff about trademarks. Y'all have already learned about LLC formation and things like that. We learned a lot more than LLC formation last time. And we learned about copyrights last time. So now it's time for trademarks. Can't leave trademarks out, you know, that's not good. That's my boo. But I tell you all that because it's on YouTube, it's on the Facebook. So if you guys have been watching the stream, go to Neena R. Spear Law Firm, and you'll be able to find that on YouTube and on Facebook, and you'll be able to get to both of those. And it's always streaming below. Any way to contact me or us. But I have enjoyed you guys. Me and Jessica had a chance to talk just unfettered about copyrights, and I think neither one of us have done that in a while. Because most of my clients have been coming to me is trademark clients, but we both made, or she made a comment about people not knowing. I said, let's do a live because I feel like a lot of people don't know either. And it turned out that we were right. I know that we're right because I know y'all are commenting somewhere. I just can't look at all of the feeds and run the show at the same time. One day someone's gonna run all of this for me. StreamYard does a good job of putting it out there for all the streams, but I can't look at it all. So if y'all do comment, make sure you comment directly on the video, not on the shared watch party, because we will not see those comments. And if you comment when it's on my Facebook page, I won't see it. But I've enjoyed you, Jessica. Is there any last word that you can say, last few words that you can say that can inspire the future copywriter who listened all the way through this live?
Yeah, absolutely. Do it.
So my words are, you can own it, but make sure it's unpublished. So you can own it. Definitely, that's important. Owning it is great, but make sure it's unpublished. That'll save you a lot of money.
Yeah, just file it. Just do it.
So Neena and Jessy B talking about copyrights, the published versus unpublished edition. We thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, bye.
Bye.
Awesome. I am done. Oh, guys, I'm still live. Oh my gosh. Hi. How y'all doing? It just doesn't want me to leave y'all right now. I don't understand. That is definitely different. That is one of a kind. Sorry, guys. I don't know why it would let me end the live, but it is over. It's over. So thank y'all. Apparently, they wanted to see some extra stuff. Clearly, technology went crazy. So it would only be right for me to have some crazy, cool feature. So y'all just learned about copyrights. Thanks, Jessy B. It's been Neena and Jessy B talking about copyrights. Hope you guys tune in next time. In this broadcast. No, it will not let me in the broadcast. What is happening? What is happening? It's really still going, guys. I'm so sorry, but y'all just gonna have to keep seeing me until I can get this thing to go off because it will not let me end this broadcast. It really wants me to talk to y'all much longer than